Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Saturday to all of you. We got a little matinee edition today. There is a UFC fight. We know a lot of you guys like to go out and kick a little bit on Saturday night, so we're going to go a little early today. Chip Kelly, massive impact. Coaching staff was out at the Ohio High School coaching clinic out at Easton doing the thing. Brian Hartline presented, Matt Gariani presented. Always a great show. One of the best clinics in the entire country, probably the best clinic in the entire country. A lot of coaches coming from all over the country to present there. Always a good time. A lot of mingling, a lot of hobnobbing, a lot of people that you know and love from the past. They come, Luke Fickle, those types of guys, they come and present there because coaches got to mine Ohio. It's real interesting. Michigan does not have the presence they used to there, which is interesting. You're considering how many of their good players come from Ohio. But our staff is there dominating, which is awesome. So we're going to break that down. Break down some winter workout stars. We're going to take your questions, your super chats. Again, we appreciate you guys so much. Again, thank you. I want to make a quick thank you to all of our military members, along with our police officers. I also have to say something. I have to thank our first responders, paramedics, anyone that is under that umbrella. I apologize. My wife pointed out in the chat, I've been missing you guys, so I apologize for that. But all of you guys that help us and serve us day to day, the guys that go running in when most of us are running out, we appreciate you so much. I just want to make sure that that was very clear. We appreciate you guys very much. If you guys enjoy this content, if you could leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Those are all huge for growing this channel. The surge in growth is incredible right now. We're on a huge wave right now. The Scoop family is real. It's powerful. It's palpable. We appreciate you guys coming and kicking it with us every day. They put this episode up a couple hours early, just so you guys could know that we were going in the afternoon instead of the normal 7. But we appreciate you guys so much. And again, make sure you have those alerts turned on your phone. So when we do go early, you do get the notification that we are going early. Because some of you guys really love watching this and we love having you guys. And again, this is a big show because you guys make it one. So we appreciate you guys so much for all you guys do for this channel. Outstanding questions every single night. We're going to get into some of the intel that we've been mining the last few days. In what I consider to be the greatest offseason in Ohio State history. Nevada, we recap it every day. I feel like I'm going to wake up and it's all going to be a dream. The fact that we got Ross Bjork, we got James Laurinaitis, we got Julian Sayin, Caleb Downs, Quinshon Judkins, Seth McLaughlin, Chip Kelly. I don't even know where to start. Jeremiah Smith, Edric Houston. It's fascinating how great this offseason has been since, the skid at the end of the year, the Michigan game. Obviously, the Missouri game was a game that I just kind of flushed out of memory just because of the quarterback situation. But where are you at with this? Obviously, we're going to get into Chip Kelly's first week on the job. He's on day 8 on the job, and he's had a humongous impact. I think that probably the greatest hire that Ryan will ever make in his career is hiring his mentor to run the offense so that he can truly be the CEO. Between Jim Knowles and Chip Kelly, this is as talented of a duo as we've had, commanding each side of the ball. But your thoughts on Chip Kelly's first week and some more superlatives about this offseason?
Well, for Chip Kelly has already changed everything on the Ohio State offense. Like, everything has changed. Everything's changed. How they're approaching blocking, how they're approaching scheme, how they're approaching play calling, how they're approaching tempo. He's changing it all. He's taking complete command. Brian Hartline, Justin Fry, Tornell, they all know who the boss is now. And it's just it's so interesting to see how everything can change with one hire in a really, really short period of time. And that's what happens when you have an offensive genius, a guy that, his attention to detail and the way he approaches everything. I mean, he has basically laid out a plan for Ohio State where everything is going to involve a triple option. Everything involves it. Everything is going to involve attacking from multiple facets. Even if you're looking like the same play, that you've got at least 3 options off the same play every time. And for me, it's music to my ears because it's what I've been calling for. It's what I've been, dreaming about for years for the Ohio State offense. What if? Well, now we don't have to what if anymore. That is Chip Kelly's philosophy. That is his approach. That is what he's made perfectly clear to everybody else on the offensive staff. And I just can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the Ohio State offense fully deployed and fully dangerous, and that's what we're going to see in 2024. And we're in for a treat, guys. So buckle up.
Yeah, and I just tossed on a list of CBS Sports did the top 10 best coordinator hires for the 2024 season. Chip right at the top. Obviously, Travaris Robinson's the guy. Went to Bama to Georgia, but couldn't get Caleb Downs to come with him. So, but yeah, I think that if you did this list over maybe the last 5 seasons, I'd say Chip Kelly's probably still number one. Just because, the thought of him being an OC after he's been a head coach for basically, since 07-ish. I mean, it's like 16 straight years of him being a head coach. It might have been a year off a gap somewhere, but I just think that he's going to make a huge difference. And again, for Ryan to be able to hire his mentor and the guy that taught him offense and the guy that, they grew up like a mile apart when he was at New Hampshire and, got recruited to New Hampshire, played for him, coached, learned coaching under him. Obviously went with him to the Philadelphia Eagles, went with him to the 49ers. Chip Kelly gets Ryan Day his huge break as the OC at Ohio State, where he can kind of get out of the nest, get out of the Chip Kelly umbrella. It's kind of like leaving the nest, basically. When you're in coaching, it's easy to say somewhere that's familiar. Maybe, and again, this isn't like directly like something like Brian Hartline, but Brian's only coached at Ohio State. He's from Ohio State, played at Ohio State. There's a lot of familiarity there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, when you take that first leap and you go somewhere where you're out of the nest and you're really kind of on your own, you don't have as much infrastructure, you don't have as much familiarity. That's kind of what Ryan Day was when all of a sudden he didn't have Chip Kelly, kind of oversee him. Now, I know he worked with Steve Adazzi at Boston College, and he had some other jobs, but he'd been with Chip for a while, with the Eagles and then with the 49ers. But, when he all of a sudden you work for Urban, that's a whole different ball of wax now. I mean, because Urban is going to push you to the brink, and, it's going to be uncomfortable at times, but, they had a great relationship, and obviously Urban felt good enough, and Gene Smith felt good enough to promote him to head coach once Urban was ready to retire. But Chip, I think that, in terms of the alignment, the chemistry, and again, when you're Ryan and you've made $60 million as a play caller, 75, whatever he's made over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years, 15 years coaching, you've made all that money because you've been such a great play caller, been a quarterback developer. And now to be able to hand that play sheet over to a guy who you trust more than anybody in the entire universe because of circumstances that happened at UCLA, it really is kind of magical, and I think that Chip Kelly, when UCLA is getting ready for their bowl game, his quarterback coach took off to Oregon State to be the OC, and Chip kind of had to get back into being a coach again instead of being, kind of being a fundraiser, because you're a head coach now, you're kind of like, you're more fundraiser than you are coach. So he had to turn into the quarterback coach. And I think that was something where he's like, man, this is way better than having to go beg people for money for NIL and, all this other stuff that is now new to your job title. Cause now Chip can go coach. He can go be on the grind. He's not the guy that everyone's going to look to fundraise. Cause now that's Ryan Day. Ryan Day is the guy that he's got to go raise the war chest. And, people I talk to, I've been doing a lot of intel on why did he leave UCLA? Why did he leave being a head coach and becoming a coordinator? And, I talked to some really good people. They're like, look, UCLA's fundraising is an absolute joke. Their Ohio State's NIL budget is 8 figures, so it's north of $10 million. UCLA's is less than $1 million. They said it was in the 6 figures. So it was like $900,000, where you got to go against Ohio State, who's 13, 14, 15 million right now. And so, I mean, that's a huge deal when you've got kids that you have to roster manage and you have to supplement the roster. And, that you saw a new round of deals going out today Sonny Sal's got a deal this week, and CJ Hicks got a deal this week, and Julian Sang got a deal this week, all with the foundation. These guys, they're at risk if you can't afford to supplement them. And plus, when you got these guys that are NFL guys that maybe didn't have the greatest junior years and they have a chance to come back and really, supplement their life and get a little bit of peace of mind in case they would get injured. Ohio State is cooking right now. And again, that's why we have this massively talented roster, which I think is the most talented roster in the country. And Chip, frankly, isn't great at that stuff. He's not great at talking to donors, and he's not great at that type of thing because that's not what makes him great is being the mad scientist in the lab, running the show, developing the offense, developing the quarterback, and that's what he's going to get to do now. Ryan, as much as he would rather be the quarterback guy, he is a very good fundraiser. He's very aggressive. He's a guy I've dealt with firsthand with literally like in the last 3 weeks, like getting him into some deals and he's done a great job. He sells and he works hard, and people love being charmed by Ryan Day. And again, that's what it takes now. And Ryan's really good at it. So I think it's a magical combination that you have Chip as your new play caller, and Ryan is kind of the force of nature that he is in building Ohio State into this absolute juggernaut that we're becoming. Nevada, how good is this offense going to be under Chip Kelly? What do you think will change? I think that it's going to take a huge step in the running game just because I don't think he's going to put up with the perimeter blocking. I think that our perimeter guys are going to have to learn how to block, or they're not going to play as much as they have in the past. Because Chip runs the ball, man, and he's an explosive run guy, and you got to take out the safeties in the corners to get those explosive runs. But your thoughts on what Chip Kelly's going to improve the most?
Well, first of all, let's deal with one thing. Ryan is handing off the play sheet to somebody who is better than he is at calling plays. So it's not even like Ryan Day is doing it. So, hey, so I can go fundraise, but you're not as good as me, but at least now I can go do my other things. He's handed it off to arguably the greatest play caller that's ever existed in college football. So from Ohio State's standpoint, yeah, Ryan can now do the things that he's really good at, and he's a great play caller, but Chip Kelly's better. Chip Kelly is the original mad scientist of offense. When you listen to people that have coached against him, when you look at people that have coached with him, they just talk about his attention to detail and how everything is, everything involves multiple options. Everything involves, presenting a similar look and then doing something differently, whether it be with the blocking scheme, whether it be attacking outside zone, or inside out, or, he's never going to do the same thing twice. He's got an incredible Rolodex of almost an infinite number of options off of every play. So he just confounds defenses. And to one of your points about running, UCLA has led the Pac-12 in rushes over 20 yards the last 4 years in a row. And you don't do that without tight ends blocking, without wide receivers blocking down the field, and without a great scheme in terms of it. Because it's not like he's had great running backs. It's not like he's had like first team All-American running backs or All-Pro running backs. He's done it with a variety of different guys. 4 years in a row, they've led the Pac-12 in rushes over 20 yards. So if you're a fan of running the football, if you're a fan of getting your running backs in space and getting them a chance to kind of roam free and get one-on-one types of opportunities to beat guys and break long runs, then you're going to love the Chip Kelly offense because it's all about presenting that. It's all about attacking it that way. Loves to present the quarterback as an option. Going to do that, in abundance with Will Howard, and anybody that's behind him is going to have to be willing and able to run the ball. And right now we've got a room of guys that are all willing to do it, with variety degrees of able. So no, I think the offense is going to be. I know the offense is going to be cooking, and it's it's going to the idea that we're not going to be in loser plays anymore. We're not going to break down plays after the games and go, wow, this was a loser. This one had no chance of success. We were running into a loaded box. They had 9 guys, and we just ran into that. I'm telling you, those days are over. Not that we don't want to ever have plays that don't work, but they're not going to be defeated before we line up. And that happened a lot the last year. We've had that happen when we've gotten bad Ryan, when we've gotten tight Ryan. We've had that happen. We've had that happen a lot, and then we blame the running back, we blame the tight ends, we blame the offensive line, we blame whatever. But it was scheme. We were always defeated. When we were defeated by scheme. Well, I'm telling you, those days are over because that's what Chip Kelly's best at. And now, like you said, he's been a head coach for the past 16 years. Now he's back to just being a coordinator. Now he's just doing the offense. I mean, it's going to be crazy. And I think expectations are high because they should be high. He's never had this type of talent. Certainly never had this type of talent where he's been able to focus solely on being an OC. So I can't even imagine what he's going to dream up next, and I can't wait to see it.
Totally agree. We're getting the super chats first. I got to shout out our boy Devin Ohio 7715. My man takes pre-workout before he's about to moderate the chat, so you trolls do not stand a chance. Devin, you're the absolute best. That is amazing. Again, I love our chat is absolutely crazy and on fire. If you guys aren't in this chat, I mean, people are just absolutely hilarious in that. But I think that there is a point in life where, when you're in coaching, and Chip's not married, he doesn't have any kids, so I mean, he doesn't have a family to support, college to pay for. Like he's self-sufficient. He's made enough money where he never has to really worry about money again. So at some point in life, when your passion is football and you are a football savant like Chip Kelly, eventually you sort of get back to having fun and coaching. And that was something like with Coach Meyer. Coach Meyer was always adamant, when we'd sit in the staff room, to all of us, there'd be 20 of us in there. There'd be the top 9 coaches, there'd be the GAs, interns, whatever. And he'd be like, I want all of you to be you should want to be head coaches. If you guys don't want to be head coaches, then I'll fire you. We need to get guys in here that have ambition and whatever. And I'd be sitting there, I'm like, I'd love to be a head coach, but I really like coaching the line. Like, I really want to make sure that the line is on point. And again, it's hard to find good offensive line coaches. So I was like, that was what I had fun doing. Like, I liked training the guys and figured out what made them tick. And it's like, man, when you're a coach, man, you have to deal with so much of the political stuff. It's kind of like, if you just like to fight, you don't want to be Dana White. You just want to be the fighter. That's what you want to do. If you're Sean Strickland, you just want to go fight people. The UFC is a great fighter in the UFC. He doesn't want to be the guy negotiating deals with different vendors and arenas. Like, he wants to just fight. So sometimes you got to figure out what makes you tick, and that's what I think Chip Kelly is. I think Chip Kelly, what he loves is experimenting with schemes and studying schemes and developing schemes and figuring out ways to really screw with the defense. And it's never been more fun to be an offensive guy than right now, because the defense is essentially, it's like they've got their hand tied behind their back and their legs are chained together, because that's what it's like to be a defensive coordinator with the way that the rules are for football, the lack of contact in the perimeter from the corners and the safeties, the illegal touching. If you touch it after 5 yards, it's an automatic first down, 5-yard penalty. Like, that's insane. So you could use that. You could use pick plays, rub plays, RPOs. It's just, the game is so fun to run on offense now compared to when I played, when it was everyone kind of ran the same stuff. Now it's, the variance is crazy, and discovering what's the next wave going to be is even more fun. We have a ton of super chats stacked up, so we're going to get into these. But we appreciate you, Devin, for taking the pre-workout as you're moderating, because that is awesome. Daniel O'Leary, thank you for the 5, brother. My dream, OSU 49, scum 0. 30 seconds left, fourth quarter. OSU has the ball, fakes the kneel, and throws for TD. Then goes for 2 to get to 51. I like that. Well, thank God NCAA football is coming back on Xbox and PlayStation, because you actually be able to do that in I think May or June when it drops, or I think it might be July. But yeah, that's I think some of you guys, in your heads, you're just like, man, I can't wait to play the video game again and actually get to play as Ohio State with Caleb Downs. And I wonder if they have the players' names in the game. I bet they will. Nevada, what is your dream scenario for the Ohio State-Michigan game this year?
Yeah, I want a beating. I want a beating, but I want to suffocate them defensively. I just want to choke them out. I mean, as good as the 62-35 game was, they scored 35, and so they had moments where they were happy. And I don't want them to have any moments of happiness. I want to choke them out on offense. I want to run it up on defense, or excuse me, choke them out on defense, run them up on offense, and then violate them on special teams to maybe block a punt, onside kick, do some things, go for 2. Trick. I mean, I want to embarrass them. I want to embarrass Michigan this year. And the good news is we're going to have the squad to do it. So this isn't just kind of bluster. This isn't, hey, I someday we'll beat Michigan. Look, they've cheated the last 3 years, and they got us. Well, cheating's over. Playtime's over. Big boys have returned to the schoolyard, and so now it's time for your punishment. So just line up and take it. And I'm really wondering if Michigan's going to try to find a way to tap out, like do some sort of like, blame pandemic X or some sort or other little mystery illness and try to tap out of the game or something. But that would be a very Michigan-y thing to do.
Yeah, I think just a beat down. Senior day, that team's gonna be so charged up just because you have so many great seniors that'll be going out of the tunnel last time. And you have a lot of guys that are really good players, experience that are veteran guys that are gonna be doing it for the first time, like Will Howard, Caleb Downs, Seth McLaughlin, Quinshon Judkins. It's gonna be their first shot, and it's gonna be fun because it's gonna be in the shoe. So it'll be nice and good environment. Place will be. I can't imagine how electric it's going to be. I mean, I think there's this, like I said, there's this bloodlust for Michigan right now after they won the title. They cheated, beat us 3 straight years. I mean, after 20 years of dominance, like for them to beat us 3 straight years is almost unfathomable. So, with this roster that we have, man, I think that there's going to be a beating coming, and I'm excited about it. PoohBeard12, thanks for being an Ultra member. Thanks for being on here all the time. Thank you for being on BuckeyeScoop.com all the time. You are one of our crossovers who came from this platform, YouTube, onto our message board, which is our home base, and you've been awesome on there, so I appreciate you for that. And I've seen a lot of you people on jumping in, men, women, couples, all over BuckeyeScoop.com, so appreciate you guys. The board is absolutely on fire, super active, really good threads going right now, so we appreciate that. Thank you for the 10. In my opinion, Mahomes is best at escaping the pocket and getting yards with his legs, or hitting, we were talking about this, or hitting a late read on a broken play. I'm not saying that Julian is Mahomes, but on film, his pocket awareness seems elite. Nevada, OH. I mean, obviously, like, it's kind of sacrilegious to, like, say, because, with Lamar in the league, he's obviously runs a 4.3. He's a different, but, like, in terms of a guy that can convert when it seems like everything's covered, I've never seen anybody like Mahomes. Like, I mean, he's a guy that, he doesn't, like I said, you see there's all these shirts of him, holding the trophy up shirtless and a little dumpy looking. And like, but when he's got to go get it, man, he goes and gets it. And that guy can convert with his legs, and he doesn't look like Lamar running. He looks like he's in half speed compared to Lamar, but he is an effective runner now. And again, you don't have to be the fastest guy in the universe to be an effective runner. There's a lot of running backs that are 4.6 guys that can run for 1,000 yards. I mean, that happens all the time. Anquan Bolden was a 4.7-1 guy. He played 15 years in the league and was a dominant receiver. But Mahomes is a guy that I swear to God, every time I watch him, I'm like, he's going to scramble, pick up the first, third and medium, 3rd and 8. They forget about him. They're in man coverage. People run off, and there's just big chunks of green, and he goes and gets it. And again, that is what me and Nevada screamed about for years with CJ Stroud, because CJ, great player, obviously rookie of the year, monster NFL career on tap, but he just refused to do that. And again, I think it was because he was told not to, or he was scared to, or he didn't want to get hurt, whatever. He's protected himself. But like, go get that green grass and go get 7 yards and slide. Like, I'm not saying lower your shoulder and take on a safety or a linebacker and get your shoulder dislocated or break your leg broken. But like, I mean, Mahomes is awesome at scrambling. Nevada, I think I text you every single time there's a big Chiefs game or the Super Bowl, like QB run, hard to stop. But your thoughts on Mahomes scrambling, and could Will Howard add that element to our offense?
Well, look, I would submit that in terms of big play, I'm talking about back-breaking, game-changing plays, that Mahomes made more with his legs than he did with his arm. And that's saying something. You're talking about one of the greatest passers of all time. But I mean, he just absolutely devastated teams with his legs. And as you said, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Braxton Miller. He's not Terrell Pryor. He's not some blazer. He's just smart and willing and got a great pocket presence. And to the original thing from Pobier, Julian Sain knows his way around the pocket, and guys just either have it or they don't. And this isn't going back and trying to be Mr. Mean, but Kyle McCord just did not have good pocket presence. And it's knowing when to slide up and around, when to step up, and some guys just have an intuitive basis where they can just kind of go and make that stuff happen, and other guys just go to the wrong spot. They hang out too long, and when those speed rushers come around the end, they're still standing there and they get hit, and everybody wants to blame the tackle. But it's like, man, help them out, quarterback. Like, step up, make a play, do something. But no, Julian Sain's got it. Will Howard's got that in abundance. Will Howard is always looking, to make a run if he has to. He's more than willing to do that. I think he's run for some ridiculous amount of 19 touchdowns or something in his college career. We've said this many times. We haven't had a rushing quarterback touchdown from our QB1 in 3 years. So that ends with Chip Kelly. That ends with Will Howard. That definitely ends with Julian Sane. You've got a bunch of quarterbacks right now with Devin Brown, with Lincoln. I mean, guys that are willing to run the football, and that's what you need. You need that to fully activate your offense in 2024. Just another reason why Chip Kelly's better than Ryan Day. And Ryan Day is an exceptional A-plus play caller, game planner, strategic offensive guy, quarterback whisperer, savant, et cetera, et cetera. Chip Kelly's better. Chip Kelly is just better. And to have Chip Kelly and Ryan Day on the same staff, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, like that could be that would be the best offensive staff on any NFL staff, let alone college staff. And we have it here at Ohio State in 2024 with this offense. I mean, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be dominating. Like, again, Dick Buck, thanks for the deuce. Okay, I got a 2-minute rant on scum fans and their delusion. Well, I mean, I don't know what to say other than the fact that, I mean, these things take time. These NCAA investigations, they're not like you're cooking minute rice in the microwave. Like, these things take a hot minute to come down, and they're very formal, they're very regimented. So, I think people are like, oh, well, nothing's happened yet, so nothing must be happening. But again, it's just like any other, court process or, type of review. Like, these things take a lot of time. They roll slowly, but when they hit, again, they hit. And again, just guys, like, read the tea leaves. Like, look at everyone that's leaving the program. Like, they can't get out of there fast enough because they know what's about to go down. Like, they know what it is. They know what time it is. So any of these guys that can go to the Chargers or go to the Chargers, any of these guys that had the option of going to the league, like, the only reason like guys like Colson Loveland are still there is because they literally aren't draft eligible. There wasn't a single guy who had any shot of going to the league who didn't declare for the league, the NFL. So, I mean, the staff got wiped out, the roster got wiped out. I mean, I don't feel bad for these guys at all, but like, the guys remaining are just the guys that are stuck there. They're landlocked or they haven't hit the portal yet. Because they probably don't have great options. They're probably guys that didn't play. Again, that was a very veteran team, 44 starters, a lot of 6-year guys. Most of these guys that are still on the roster, they don't have tape. So, I mean, they're not as desirable in the portal. And frankly, they got a chance to start at Michigan next year. Even if they're underwater in sanctions, that still means something more than maybe going to a lesser program. Nevada, do you have any thoughts on the Michigan fans and their delusion? Because they are a very delusional bunch.
Well, it's those that stay aren't draft eligible. I think that's the old
Yeah.
Michigan saying or something like that. But no, for Michigan fans, just look at how wrong that they've been on everything. We talk to the insiders, but the fans, oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's about a cheeseburger. Oh, Jim Harbaugh's going to sign the extension. Oh, they're going to fight it in court. Oh, Jim Harbaugh's coming back. Oh, the whole staff's staying. I mean, everything has been wrong. Everything has been wrong, and now, it's as I say, everything's in the public record. So just go read the Tony Petitti letter to Michigan. Read that. If anybody takes 5 minutes of their life and reads the Tony Petitti letter to Michigan and comes away with any type of conclusion other than Michigan is going to get hammered into the oblivion, then they're either just a blind homer or they have an IQ of under 80, because it's all there. They lay out all the allegations. They lay out the severity of them and how this goes right to competitive imbalance, cheating on-field cheating. I like I said, for Michigan fans, I think all they've got the memories, and that's good. They can't take the way the memories from them. They're not going to come in like one of those Men in Black things and erase the memories of the national championship. But that's all you're going to have, and you got no future, and we're going to take away the past too. So for Michigan fans, and I love the Michigan fans. We have so many Michigan fans on this site. I'm like, man, don't you have your own site to go to? Like,
Nope.
look, we don't need you here. If you're going to be here and you're going to complain, then just shut up or get off the chat or whatever it is. But hey, for Ohio State fans, man, the future is so bright, and for Michigan, it's you're into the abyss, babies. So welcome to hell, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. Deb Sobel, appreciate you being an Ultra member. Thanks for the deuce. Kim needs a wrench. We'll see about that. She has to earn that, Rich. No, I'm just kidding. I'll get her one. She'll be a good moderator along with Devin and Akeem, aka Tora and Ohio 7715. Appreciate you guys. I'll get that done for her, Deb. Appreciate you being an Ultra member as well. Ted Nehas, thanks for the 10. If Ohio State goes 11-1, that one loss is to Michigan. Ohio State still goes to the playoffs. But if Ohio State wins it all, is Ryan still in trouble unless by the fan base and Bjork? So I think what you're saying is if we lose to Michigan, but he wins the national championship, is he in trouble? No. Nobody will care about the Michigan loss if we win the national championship. I've beaten Michigan many times. I've lost national championships the two that I played in, and people would rather see you win a national title than beat Michigan. Sorry, it's the truth. When we beat Michigan, nobody buys the t-shirt. When we win the national championship, like in 14 and 02, everybody buys the t-shirt. So that's my metric for judging that. Nevada, if Ryan Day goes 11-1, loses to Michigan, but then wins the national championship in the playoffs, will he be in trouble?
Yeah, no. But let's talk about scenarios. You know, when we're talking about game scenarios, let's talk about stuff that's realistic and has a chance to happen, because we're not losing to Michigan this year. And yeah, you can say, "Oh, Nevada, you felt like they were going to win," but look, they were cheating. I didn't know they were cheating. If you'd have told me, "Hey, Nevada, Michigan's cheating, knows our plays, knows our signals, and doing it," would that have changed my view? Yeah, it probably would have changed things. And this year I thought we had a really good chance. We outgained them in yards. We outgained them in first downs. We threw a pick six essentially down to the 7-yard line, missed a field goal. They made their field goal. So close game, but we lost. But this year we're not losing. The one that's interesting to me, and I've talked about, is Oregon. We play Oregon at Oregon. Probably going to see them again in the Big Ten championship game, and then could see them again in the college football playoff. So Oregon's a team we could see 3 times this year, and Oregon's good. I mean, I've looked at Oregon's roster, man. Oregon's good. Oregon's got a really good team with that Dylan Gabriel, a lot of good transfers. Now that's the one that's more intriguing. So if you have a chance to go to Autzen Stadium this year and go check the game out with Oregon, check them out, because, like I said, we may see them a couple more times before the end of the year. But no, if Ryan loses to Michigan but wins the national championship, nobody will care. We'll be on to 20. It would be weird, but we'd be on to 2025. But that isn't going to happen.
Well, and they get UCLA's quarterback, the freshman from
But
Michigan.
he's not going to play. Dante's not going to play. He's just development guy.
Yeah, but I mean, like they literally spent 7 figures on 2 quarterbacks. Which when you wonder why Chip Kelly leaves a place, like Oregon spent more on their backup, who they poached from UCLA, than UCLA's entire budget. Which again, you got to fault the AD as well, because again, I've gone in on Martin Jarman. I know Martin Jarman. I've talked to people that are major donors at Ohio State about Martin Jarman, and they think he's absolutely worthless. So again, coaches win conference championships, but administrations win national championships. And you have to have the administration that's aligned, that can get you what you need, aka money, to build the facility, to fund NIL. This is so important. I mean, it's never been more critical to have someone who's really, really good at the top of the food chain in the athletic department. That's why I thank God every day that we got Ross Bjork, because I think he's going to do magnificent work in that department. Because again, you have to fundraise, and again, you have to support the beast that is football. I mean, the beast has got to be fed constantly, and it's not easy. It's not always fun. But yeah, I think we waxed Michigan this year. I'm not even worried about it. Emily Dudley, happy Saturday. Thank you for the 5. Will Downs and Lathan be on the field at the same time? I would be shocked if they weren't. Also, how do we pair up against Georgia? And do you know jersey numbers yet? They're starting to trickle out a little bit. Jeremiah Smith is wearing 4. We know that for sure. Caleb, I imagine he's going to get the deuce. In some form or fashion, he's going to get the deuce, because Court Williams has it, but Court Williams doesn't play. So again, he might have pride and want to keep it, but I mean, you got to give Caleb the deuce. I mean, he's earned that. I don't know who's going to get the Uno. That's the one. Like the 4 was interesting because we got Quinshawn after JJ, but I'm sure they promised JJ 4 a long time ago. Especially with when Julian Fleming took off, it was basically probably written in ink that Jeremiah Smith was going to get 4. And some of those guys are real temperamental about their jerseys. I know Ennis wanted 1 last year and they gave him 11. So it'd be interesting if they let him shift to 1. You have to be an absolute dog to get one ever, let alone if you're a true freshman, you better be like, I mean, I bet they probably give JJ Smith a one. Because that's the most coveted number on the entire roster for skill guys. I imagine, I mean, I would be absolutely stunned if Caleb's not the starting adjuster safety and Lathan's not the starting bandit safety. Day one of spring practice. I mean, I don't know who else you could possibly assume. Now here's the thing. I don't know if Lathan's all the way back yet. I do not know that. I can check on that. It's something I just thought of where he had a pretty significant injury at the end of the season. And I would bet a large sum of money he will be very limited in spring. So they're not going to push him coming off of a significant injury. But when the foot hits the ball against Akron, those will be our two starting safeties. How do we pair up with Georgia? I think really well. I mean, we've got a very deep defense. They've lost a ton. They lost Brock Bowers, their best player. They lost a lot on the offensive line. The quarterback's back. He's a good player. But yeah, I like our matchups. Nevada, will Caleb Downs and Lathan at Ransom be on the field at the same time? How do you think we pair up against Georgia? And are there any jersey numbers you're curious about?
Well, yeah, yes, you nailed it on Ransom and Downs. When the foot hits the ball for real, those will be the first two guys. It'll be interesting to see who's backing them up. That's going to be I think that's going to be high drama, but those will be the starters for sure. Look, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State. Those are the four best teams in the country, and those teams are all really good. Having said that, Ohio State's got the best roster in the country. Ohio State may have the best roster in school history on its team, and I say that without any hyperbole or anything like that. I really believe it's the deepest, most complete roster we've ever had on both sides of the ball. We've usually been a little unbalanced. Like we had a great defense and only a really good offense, or vice versa. We've got it all on this one. So I think Ohio State can take it to anybody at any time this year in 2024. The jersey number thing. So who do you think gets the zero? Who do you think gets the block O? That's my question for you, Burke. What do you if you have to hand that out? Who do you hand that out to?
Ooh, could be Denzel. It could be Cody. It could be Jack. Because it's got to be a senior. It could be. I mean, Lathan probably because he's had a bunch of injuries and he's kind of bounced back from a lot of stuff. People love Lathan. I mean, I don't know if Trey would want it, but I mean Trey with the spiritual thing going, that's a popular one. I think Lathan. I mean Lathan seems like to me that he'd be a good pick for it just because he's been through a lot. He's a lot of adversity, and they usually give it to a kid that's been through some stuff, and it hasn't always been like a straight easy road for him to get to where he's at. So Lathan makes a lot of sense. Denzel's really banged up last year or 2 years ago. Excuse me. This past year he was outstanding. Offensive line. I mean, I guess you could consider Donnie just because he's a senior. He's been through a lot. I mean, but I don't really. I know they gave it to Thayer, and I love Thayer. It's very deserving, but I don't like that he can't wear it in the game. I think it takes a little bit out of it when he could just go through warmups in zero, but he has to put on, his 75 jerseys to actually be able to play in the game. Yeah, I mean, I think that Lathan seems like he makes a lot of sense. Who would you pick?
I'd give it to Jack Sawyer. I think I think Jack is going to be the leader of the defense. I think Trey is clearly the leader of the offense for about 19 different reasons. But either one of those guys would be my pick to do it. They'd both be really worthy selections and would wear that jersey proudly for sure.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. And again, like it'll also be with the captain. So you got a lot of really good captain candidates this year. So that'll be really fascinating to see what Ryan does. How many does he have? I applaud him for paring it down because Urban made it kind of stupid when the 1 year he had like 13 captains, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like you don't have 13 generals, you have one, or you don't have 13, whatever the top guys on the food chain, you don't need more than four. But if they had six, I get it. But I think four would be an optimal number because it's going to be competitive. This is the year where you got Lathan, Denzel, Jack, JT, Cody Simon. I mean, you got some real guys on defense, and on offense, you've got Donnie and Trey and Emeka, and you've got guys. I mean, all three of those guys could easily be captains. I think we need an O-line captain. It's been a little bit of a dearth on that. Because Matt Jones wasn't a real vocal guy. He wasn't much of a leader. So we haven't had a line captain because a lot of these guys leave. Like Paris would have been one, but he left after 3 years, and DeJuan wasn't much of a leader. Really good player, but not everybody's into kind of growing the crew. I mean, a lot of guys just want to focus on themselves, and that's fine. But sometimes you got to kind of step out of your comfort zone. That's something like, frankly, I had to do because up until my senior year, I never had to say anything because I had Troy Smith and AJ Hawk and guys that could handle. They did the talking, so I didn't have to talk. I could just focus on me. But my senior year, I looked around and like everybody was gone. So like I had to do that, and I didn't want to do that, but I had to do that. Eventually, like you have to do stuff that you're not really dying to do. But if I didn't do it, nobody was going to do it. So if you want like a rudderless ship, then you can just sit back and be quiet. But if you want to recover after getting lambasted by Florida, which we did, and it was a very dark and gloomy time in Columbus after that game, you got to kind of get on tilt a little bit, man. Because it's not fun after you lose a bowl game. Because I mean, these guys dealt with it. I think there's a nice little inferno that's growing in the Woody Hayes because they know that people can turn on you pretty quick. You lose one of those, you lose that Michigan game, you lose that bowl game, man. It is a nasty place to be in Columbus, Ohio. And I think these guys took notes and they saw who was with them and who was against them. And again, I get a lot of notes from people that are very important in and around the program about how we handled the Missouri game and how we didn't just lambast and destroy the program because, I've been there. I've actually been the player that's been destroyed. I've been the coach, I've been on the coaching staff that's been destroyed. So I kind of know what it's like, and when you have it coming from the different angles of the media people and the fan base and whatever, so it makes us take a lot more measured and appropriate approach when we deal with that kind of stuff. Just because I've literally been in their shoes, and nobody else in the media has ever even like sniffed that. They've never played, they've never coached, they don't know what it's like on the other side. So it helps you kind of step back and really correctly and measuredly like make a response when there's something like that Cotton Bowl was a disaster. Everybody knows it wasn't acceptable, but when you're down to your third quarterback, I don't know how upset I can get when any team in the history of football that gets down to their third quarterback, they have about a 2% chance of winning. So it is what it is. And again, that's why we were measured and we had the best offseason that we've ever had. Thank you, Emily. That was a great question. Bucks by Fitty. I love that name. Thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. What 2 players are you most excited to watch on OSU offense and defense, and why? Nevada, I'll let you go first, and I'll try to pick people that are different than who you pick.
I'm going to go with Quinshon Judkins and J.J. Smith. Those are 2 pretty good ones. I love you some guys. Are you going to
talk about? Are you going to talk defense or no?
Well, that's my offensive picks. I'll say on defense, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Caleb Downs. He's pretty exciting, and I'm gonna go with Cody Simon. I want to see Cody kind of step up and be that All-American linebacker that I really thought he was going to be a couple years ago. Been sidelined with some injuries, really kind of battled through it, and now he's going to get a chance to get some real serious burn. So I'm going to go with Caleb Downs and Cody Simon and see what you come up with.
Okay, I'm going to go Josh Simmons on offense, left tackle, a guy who's got a ton of ability, a guy that Mickey Marotti has personally said is freaky of a guy as he's coached. So you go back to Florida with the Pounceys and some of the guys that we've had at Ohio State in his tenure since 2012. He said this guy's is as good of an athlete and as freaky of an athlete as those guys are. Now, so people say, well, why isn't he a top 10 pick? Why isn't he a first rounder? Why isn't he in the mock drafts for 2025's draft? Well, he's got to put it together up top. Mentally, he has to be better. He has to work harder. But the talent is there. So, I mean, at least the talent is there. Now it's time for Justin Fry, Donnie Jackson. It's time for those guys to really turn this guy up a little bit. And, and Chip Kelly. I mean, those guys, Chip Kelly's got new eyes on there. And he's like, look, kid, like, if you want to be richer than your wildest dreams, then start, cracking the playbook and get better at what you're doing, as opposed to, there's some guys that literally they're good enough to just get by natural talent. And he's one of those guys that can do that. But if you want to be great, you got to know it all. You got to learn it all. And you got to be a pro, And again, this is a kid that I wish I wish he played for Urban Meyer because like Urban would have had his foot so far up his hind end that he couldn't have breathed. This kid's like a Carlos Hyde. Like Carlos Hyde, if Carlos Hyde would have played his entire career with Jim Tressel and Doc Tressel as his coach and Eric Lichter as his strength coach, probably a late round pick, seventh rounder, undrafted, flops around in the league for a little bit, whatever. But with Urban and Mickey and Stan Drayton, like Stan Drayton had his foot so far up Carlos Hyde's butt. Like, I mean, I don't even know if you could see his like kneecap. And Carlos turned into a monster because Carlos was moody. And I love Carlos. He was a beast on the field, but you know, he was irritable, moody, fat. And again, Mickey and Urban when they saw this kid, they're like, you got to get in shape and you got to work and you got to become and again, to Carlos's credit, like he took that and he ran with it. Now again, it's not fun. Like I tell people, I'm like, look, you guys see us, you see the band come out and the clap for Script Ohio and you see the team run out, but like you don't see like that's like the sausage being presented on the plate. But you guys will see how the sausage is made. Like the sausage is made this time of year, and it ain't always fun and pretty. It's not Script Ohio and the band and the cheerleaders and the band director. Like this is how you really make a team, and it is nasty. It's a blast furnace. And with Urban, it was awesome because he changed kids' lives that would have been washouts, undrafted, never heard from again, and he turned them into dudes. And again, it's not always fun, but sometimes like when a kid is, it's like when you guys watch Caesar Milan, the guy that like the guy that goes around to the dogs that like they bite everything and they growl and they snap at the masters and they're completely disobedient. Like Urban and Mickey are like Caesar Milan. They roll up on these dogs that are like pit bulls that eat everybody. And by the end of the show, like they're balancing like a teacup on their nose and they're shaking and kissing and like that's what Urban did. I mean, so he took people that were non-responsive, low motor, and he turned that motor on now. I mean, if you want to be low motor on Urban, you're gonna have yourself a day now with Mickey, and I mean you're gonna be in that Woody Hayes 7 days a week, and it is not fun. I'm telling you, it's not fun. But again, that's what it takes, and you gotta. Some of these guys they need turned up because I mean, really, that's the only way you can save them from obscurity and just going off into the abyss. Wade Harper, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. And thank you. The delicious, the DoorDash was awesome. Appreciate you, brother. 1950 Snowball game against Michigan or the 2023 Cotton Bowl loss. Ooh, 25 years from now, what will be looked at as a bigger impact on the program? God bless. I mean, that was West. Was it Wes Fessler? Like the lady told him not to punt, and then he finally punted and it got blocked, and they scored. The Cotton Bowl I think is significant because say you got and you win the Cotton Bowl 35-21, and does that really mean that you need to fire a bunch of guys and change a bunch of guys and really turn up the NIL? I don't know. I mean, I felt like that was kind of a catalyst. Now we had really good intel that a lot of these guys were coming back, but to be able to go out and get a lot of these guys and, fire, frankly, Urban Meyer's son-in-law to go get Chip Kelly, like I'd be ballsy. I mean, if you're 12-1 and, you quarterback, McCord looks or Devin Brown has like that breakout. Because again, going into that game, we had intel that Devin looked great and he was going to have a breakout game. And of course he did break out. He was broken and he was out for the game, not a breakout game, but he got hurt, was out. And so, again, sometimes, the best ability is availability and durability. And I think that was a catalyst to go get Will Howard. And Will Howard was already in the fold. I mean, he was at the team hotel that whole week. But, I think that it really put the impetus on the fact we really got to get this kid and we got to go get an OC that can really run the show and let Ryan be the head coach. Nevada, what will be looked at as a bigger impact? The Cotton Bowl from 2023 or the 1950 Snow Bowl game?
Cotton Bowl. I mean, Cotton Bowl, and we called it at the time. We said, look, this might be the best thing that could ever happen to Ohio State. You use the 35-21 example. I use like say it's sleepy 17-3, or we win and we just kind of go through. It's hard to make dramatic changes sometimes. They talk about those moments with people that have addiction. They have to hit rock bottom, and I just think for us, the Cotton Bowl is pretty close to rock bottom. You lose to Michigan. you follow that. Missouri was not a great football team by any measure, and we lose to them. We don't even score an offensive touchdown. We lose 14-3 or whatever it was. Or I don't even remember. I don't remember what the score was, but it was bad. And for Ohio State, that was hitting rock bottom. And you have that moment of clarity at that point where you're like, look, we've got to change some things, and it's going to hurt some people's feelings, and things are going to have to change, and things are going to have to be uncomfortable. But that's what we're going to have to do to get better. And look what we've done. You fast forward 6 weeks later, and we're in the midst of the greatest offseason in Ohio State history. And that's not hyperbole. That's not Nevada and Kirk Barton getting excited about the 2024 season. That's just, it's objectively true. You can look at it and just we've never kept this many players. We've never gotten this many players. We've never added, this type of firepower to the staff. And it's all happened in the same offseason. So amazing. I do believe the Cotton Bowl was the moment, but and again, we'll take a little bit of a victory lap because we said it at the time. And when Ramsey and 11 Warriors was just going in on Ryan Day calling for him to be fired, we were going all in on Ryan Day and the future of Ohio State football. And I feel, not completely vindicated because that won't be until we get on the field, but I feel partially vindicated for where we are. And I can't wait for spring football. Can't wait for the fall. And can't wait to kick it off for real.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's gonna be massive. Devin, what's up, brother? Ohio 7715 Scoop Ultra member, also the Wrench brother, along with Tora, my boy Akeem the Dream. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 50. What up, Kirk in Nevada? Shout out Scoop family. Don't want to be a downer, but what happened on that Hamby drop? Oh God, we gotta go back in time, baby. Stoked for the triple option in 2024. Natty OH. So I had a request for this weeks ago, and I had to go dig around the archives to find this play, and I did. So Devin asked for this a few weeks ago. He asked me if I found it. I was able to. So we're going to go back to that fateful night in wonderful Ohio Stadium. Back when we had grass. I kind of missed the grass. The grass was actually nice. So we're 3 into the boundary. We got little Ted here. A bunch of guys, we got Brandon Schnicker going in motion. Zwick's at quarterback. And, your boy, I'm playing right tackle, lockdown as always. And we throw the ball. It goes flying up in the air. I'll get to the back end zone so you can see it. But this was a confusing moment in my life because I was like, oh boy. So here's your boy, your humble Buckeye Scoop podcast host. In the game, you got TJ Downing, you got Nick Mangold, you got Rob Sims, Dadish, Ted Ginn, Brandon Schnicker. Here's our boy Ryan Hamby. He's just running a little in. I mean, this is about as good of a call. I mean, people crack on Jim Bowman all the time for his play calls. This is about as perfect of a call as you ever play versus his coverage. And the protection's good. I mean, literally, there's nobody. Like, look at this. There's nobody there. So you look at this. And Ryan is kind of surprised, and I think it's because of this umpire. And again, Ryan, I'm not going to get into it, but Ryan was kind of an a-hole. So I mean, this was kind of funny when it happened to him. But this official, the ball literally almost hits him right in the head. So you see the official, you see this ball go right here, and I apologize it's grainy because this is 05. And I think it kind of surprises him because it literally. The referee just get out. I mean, it goes right. There's his head and shoulder, and there's the ball. So I think for a moment in time, it surprised Ryan that it wasn't. He was probably thinking it was going to be there, and it was here. And again, this is a good ball by Justin. Ryan's got to catch this. But I think that this little instance kind of spooked him for a second. And again, you still got to catch it, But I mean, in an optimal, if this is an optimal throw, he's throwing it right here. Because, I mean, you see where Hamby's breaking to, but he kind of throws a little bit behind him. And again, Ryan has to catch this. He has to catch this. And again, this was devastating for our chances. Pops it up in the air. This is amazing because he kind of takes it off. This corner comes all the way over and is the guy that smokes him. So I mean, it's amazing. This guy's literally just watching it, like he stops, and this corner comes from all the way over here and smokes it. So that's what happened. Again, if we score that touchdown there, you add 4, it's 26 to 16. It's a 10-point game. I mean, it's basically over. Our defense was balling that night, but we choked. We kicked another field goal, and you can't kick field goals versus good teams. So again, does Ryan have to catch that ball? Yes. Did I feel like that umpire kind of masked where the ball was? And yes. Um, so again, I broke that down, not to be Debbie Downer, but that was a play. I remember I was watching the film. I was like, I bet that umpire, like, it buzzes right over his shoulder, and he's still gonna catch it. But it was just one of those weird plays. Nevada, your thoughts on that play? You were in the building. I obviously was a little closer to the play than you, but you probably had a better vantage point from where you were. But your thoughts on that play?
Well, you've seen it when it happened live. Obviously, you're just kind of in stunned disbelief, and it's just I mean, it was really one of those kind of defining moments you never forget. But I remember watching the play and watching the play on the replay and thinking, wow, that ref really did kind of impede his view there. And from a referee standpoint, they're kind of taught to kind of bail out there to the left, and he kind of hung right in there and kind of massive. So I mean, I give Hamby like a 10% reduction in blame on that one because of the referee. But yeah, he's got to catch it. Things would have been different. But maybe if he'd have caught that, maybe you wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. Maybe everything would be different in your life.
Oh
And
my god.
maybe you would have never met Akeem the Dream. Maybe you'd have never met Kim. Maybe you wouldn't have your kids. So it's like,
Oh
there's
my
so many
god.
different things.
Stop.
So there's like this whole butterfly effect of Ryan Hamby dropping it. So in some way, we should be thanking Ryan Hamby for dropping that, for where he's led us. So thank you, Ryan. I want to thank you for dropping the ball.
It's like Back to the Future too, where like the entire like Columbus could have turned into like the ghetto, and there'd be a giant casino in the middle of it.
Exactly.
Oh God, you never fail to amaze me sometimes. Caden Hutchins, thanks for the 5. A couple things. Will Chip affect passing stats in a bad way? And also, who do you got in the OCDC battle? Chip versus Spags. Ooh, that is an interesting battle, and I hope that we don't have to play the Kansas City Chiefs next year because that would really suck. Um, I don't think it'll affect it in a battle because I think Ryan's still going to own the passing game. With a little bit of help from Brian Hartline, but I think that's still gonna be Ryan's baby. The running games are, I think Chip's gonna have a huge impact. Chip versus Spags, equal talent. I'd take Chip. Just because offense is so overpowered. Now again, it's hard, because how often do you have equal talent in football? Not very. You get to the Super Bowl, you get to the playoffs, you're gonna see teams that are equally as good, but in college, we run through 95% of the teams we play just because we have better players. But I take Chip because I think he's just more of a forerunner. Spags has bounced around a lot. Had a couple of runs as a head coach. I like Chip. Again, Nick Saban, clinics with Chip. Bill Belichick clinics with Chip. Like they want to know what Chip's thinking. So again, one of the greatest minds in the history of football want to call a guy or have a guy come visit and explain why he does things he does. That's the guy I want as my OC. Like nobody's called, Tim Beck and some of our past OCs, some of our past quarterback coaches to come clinic them, especially guys that are the forerunners of the sport, like Saban, like Belichick, like Urban Meyer. But they called Chip Kelly, and I mean, I don't even think they called Ryan Day, but they called Chip Kelly. So again, that's, again, I always just say, look, guys, like you can say, Kirk, you're really good at what you're talking about. Kirk, you're a total idiot. Anything in between, I don't care. But like, just look at who talks to Chip Kelly. It's the greatest minds in the history of football. They're the greatest coaches, the most championships, the most Super Bowls. Those guys want to know why Chip Kelly does what he does. Why? Because they think it's really good stuff. That's why. They don't just clinic them because they want to learn about New Hampshire and whatever. And it's just they want to know why does he do it and how can they install it and what are some things that they could do with their personnel. Nevada, your thoughts on. Will Chip affect the passing stats in a long way and an OC-DC battle between Chip Kelly and Steve Spagnuolo?
Yeah, no, look, Chip is renowned for being able to utilize the talent that he has around him. And that's why, like I said, he's mostly been running backs, throws to the tight ends, things, because he hasn't been able to deal with a stable of 5-star wide receivers, but he'll use them when he's got them. So, no, I'm not worried about him affecting the passing stats. I think that, we're going to be especially effective on the ground, equally effective in the air, and I think he'll present a balanced thing, and he'll attack teams a lot of different ways. But it's not that Chip's unwilling to throw the ball at all. He just hasn't had the horses to do it, as frequently as you do it here at Ohio State. As for Spags versus Chip, look, offense is overpowered. Offense has all the rules that are in his favor. Offense can control the tempo. So I'm going with Chip in a battle, especially in college. Definitely going with Chip over just about anybody.
Totally agree. Um, Traded the Honda. I love these names. Traded the Honda. Is that like E Honda from Street Fighter? Because he was my favorite. Will Chip's impact include improved wide receiver and combo blocking, or is he just scheme around poor technique? Well, Chip's gonna evaluate our combo blocks. Our combo blocks were not good last year. And again, I am combo block master savant. I loved double teaming guys as a player. I loved coaching it because again, in most running plays, there's a double team somewhere, and that whoever you're double teaming has got to get moved backwards. Period. Unless you're playing some mammoth like Vince Wilfork or some guy who's really tough to double team, then I'd say call a different play or go the other way. But whoever you're double teaming has got to move, because it's literally two guys against one, and it's two big guys versus one big guy. The two big guys got to root that guy out. So I think Chip will be there will be an uptick on that from Chip. I think the wide receiver blocking is, wide receiver tight end blocking was not good last year. And again, I think that's something that Chip is going to be all over this year because he wants these guys to go out and get it. And, some of it's Marvin. Some of these guys get into like this protectionalism where they're just like, I have to make sure I don't get hurt, don't get a boo-boo. And again, I always think that's, kind of, because like Hines Ward used to kill guys and he's basically almost a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I think you can do both, and again, in football, is a game where I believe in fate and faith. And if something is bound to happen to you or meant to happen to you, it's going to happen. So you might as well go out there and play hard instead of take it easy and take plays off. Because our guys take a lot of plays off, and it's honestly disgusting to watch. And again, I know they're really talented, bring home a lot of hardware, a lot of yards and stuff, but it's just selfish football when you don't block in the running game. And our running game suffers for it. The two things that kill our running game the last few years is that our receivers don't block and our quarterback doesn't run. So basically, it's like if you chain your legs together and put an anchor around your neck, that's kind of what it's like. And then you try to go swimming. That's what it's like trying to run the ball. So when people say, "Oh, the O line sucks," because there's a lot more to it than just the O line sucks. Because the O line can suck sometimes. I totally agree. There are times where guys don't combination block to the right guys. They don't move guys. They get split, and that's not acceptable. But there's a lot of times where we block them up good, and we don't do anything on the edge. We don't help our guys out, and that's why a 7-yard run, instead of it being a 65-yard run, it's a 7-yard run because we don't block anybody. So I think Chip will get after these guys a little bit because that's just a culture thing. That culture needs to change for us to become a dominant team, especially in the playoffs. If we have to play a cold weather game in the shoe, like you have to be able to run the ball. Because again, I know that we've become we've become a big jar of pudding in terms of our program where it's like, oh, Gene Smith saying, oh, we should go play in the RCA Dome or whatever, or Lucas Oil Field or whatever it is. Like that's insane. No, we got to be able to play defense and run the ball. If it's snowy, if it's rainy, if we can't catch it and throw it. Because again, I lived that. In 2007, it was snowy and rainy. And I'm talking, it was raining, 37 degrees. We couldn't throw the ball. Todd Beckman could not throw the ball. We couldn't catch the ball. His last throw that he made the entire game was literally a pick. And then Tress literally took the air out of the ball. And we literally ran every single play in the second half. And again, so if that happens, you better be ready for it. You can't say, oh, golly gee whiz, well, let's keep trying to throw it even though our guys can't catch it and it's slipping out of the quarterback's hand. So I don't know. I think that Chip's impact is going to be huge. And guys can't say anything to Chip Kelly because he's literally the best offensive mind, I think, in the country. So, and there's going to be a reason why you're going to see a big uptick in what we do from a running game perspective. Nevada, will Chip's impact include improved wide receiver and combination blocking or just scheme around poor techniques? I don't think Chip's going to put up with poor technique.
No, Chip won't. And, it's a point of emphasis for him. You got to remember, the guy that we've had calling the plays the last few years, Ryan, for all his strengths, and we talk about Ryan all the time, give him all these plaudits and all these compliments, but he doesn't really like running the ball. He doesn't really understand running the ball. And for him, he's pass first. He's kind of chuck it, Charlie. Well, now that's all changed. And so with that change comes a new and renewed vigor and insistence upon perimeter blocking, downfield blocking. And Chip is not going to accept any half efforts. And he didn't at UCLA. He didn't at Oregon. He's not going to do it here at Ohio State. I think that will improve just like magic with attention to it. And Chip Kelly will bring plenty of attention to it. That's for sure.
Totally agree. Sean Rollins, thanks for being an ultra member. Thank you for the 20, my friend. If you have a question, toss it in there. I'll have one of the Goon Squad send it to me. Poohbeard12, thanks for being an ultra member. Thanks for being on the board. I already said it to you once, but you're awesome on the board. I appreciate that. Thank you for the 5. Scum fans come to the scoop because they can't get the truth from their guys, which is true. I mean, the Michigan beat is just they're astonishingly bad. Like astonishingly bad. I mean, it's like I feel like I'm Wolfgang Puck when I or the guy that does Hell's Kitchen, whatever his name is. Like I'm stunned at how bad the quality is of their material and the fact that they still try to push stuff. I mean, if I was those guys, I'd go on vacation for about a month and just go decompress because they've just been so inaccurate and so poor. And we've just been smoking them. So Michigan people show up, and we got people subscribing to a Buckeye channel just to get the Michigan info because they don't have any. I love this. Too bad the Wrench crew, I like the Wrench crew, that's my boys, sends them to the Shadow Realm. See, I coined Shadow Realm from Mortal Kombat, so I love Shadow Realm. We used to call it the cornfield. You know, when we ban guys on the message board, we send them to the cornfield. I coined that too, but I like both of them. I like Shadow Realm too because it's kind of like, you know, you're in hell or you're in purgatory. Thanks for playing, Poohbeard. You're the man. I appreciate you, my man. Nevada, your thoughts on the Scum beat and how awesome they've been for the last 3 months?
Yeah, no, just like I said, they're clearly trying to sell something. I think they're just at the point right now where they realize the news is going to be so bad. They just have to make up and manufacturers hope and just hope that some of it comes true, and none of it's come true. Hope isn't a strategy. It's just, you know, for them, it's all they have at this point. But for Michigan fans, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. You remember how bad it was in 2020? You had to tap out of the game. It was going to be so bad. That's where you're going back to that, man. It's going back. It's coming. And, you know, for Michigan fans, I have absolutely no sympathy for you. I will not shed a tear, and I never want you to be good. I, unlike Kirk Barton, do not want you to ever be good. This is one of our rare areas of disagreement between me and Bert Carton, but I do not want Michigan to ever be good, and you're not going to be good this year, and that makes me happy.
I'm fine to disagree with you. I want them to suck this year because I'm tired of losing to them, but I like turning the difficulty up because it's fun to beat civilization on deity. Wade Harper. No, I usually spawn 2 giant death robots at the beginning of the game so that I actually can win because otherwise I can't. Anyways, it's like Michigan. Like I cheat at civilization, so I have a death robot walking around the continents killing everybody for me. Wade Harper, thanks for the deuce. 1950 loss led to led to Woody being hired. 24 is big. Yeah, I knew that. I wanted to confirm that because your boy Hurricane Bruce, the late great Earl Bruce, used to come in and tell that story about the Snow Bowl when we were getting ready. So something that's cool about Ohio State, and this is why Jim Tressel's the GOAT in terms of getting Ohio State back to really learning their history, is he would have Earl Bruce come in on the Sunday night before we played Michigan. So we play on Saturday. So Sunday in college football is usually, you know, you do film review, you get a little practice in, you eat some dinner. And then like for Michigan week, we'd have the band come in. The band would be awesome. They'd come in and take us out, and we'd go through Script Ohio. Everybody gets a band instrument. You walk next to one of the band members, and you go through Script Ohio, which is really cool. And then Earl Bruce would talk to us. And Earl was always on point, and he was always wound up, ready to rock. And he'd tell these stories about, you know, when you lose this game, man, you do not want to be in Columbus, and you want to take the side streets, and people holler at you. But they told me, he told me the whole story about, you know, the Snow Bowl and you know, Wes Fessler and the little old lady in the stands who said don't punt, and you know, it was I don't know if it's don't kick the field goal or don't punt, but it was don't something, and they blocked the field goal or whatever it was, like, and it got returned by Michigan for like the only score of the game. It was like 9-3, and literally he got fired. Wes Fessler got fired after the game because he went against the little old lady that was sitting there in 8 feet of snow or whatever. But it's just so funny because like I mean that's like what the game is. It was it was kind of like yesterday in Columbus. Like, there's no snow on the ground. All of a sudden, there's like 8 inches of snow, 7 inches of snow, whatever it was, and like that's what it was. Like they went to bed and they woke up the next day and there's like 2 feet of snow on the ground, and you can't run offense, you can't run defense. And again, that's why you have to be good at running the football, because when it gets to be like that, you don't have a choice. Like you can try to throw it when it's rainy or a hurricane or whatever. You always see these crazy weather games, like when Notre Dame played NC State a few years ago. I remember I was literally in Manhattan Beach at Luke Robitaille's little sports bar watching that game, and it was literally like it was like a hurricane, like a tropical depression, like just infinite rain, and they couldn't do anything. They'd punt the ball and it would stick in the turf because it was so wet, it's so sloppy, and that's when you have to run the ball. Like you literally can't throw it, so you always have to have Plan B ready in case of a disastrous weather scenario, and that's why football is great, because sometimes that happens. It doesn't happen in the NBA, it doesn't happen in the NHL. It only happens in football. Baseball, they go inside and drink cocoa and do whatever, chew sunflower seeds. Football, you got to roll. I mean, there ain't no stopping unless there's lightning. So appreciate you, Wade. I love the historical stuff. So thanks for bringing that. That's awesome. Mark Pollitt, thanks for the deuce. Thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. If you have a question, send it to the Goon Squad in the chat. Daniel O'Leary, thank you for the deuce. How does Scum fill a roster with 44 seniors and transfers? Well, they'll take a good recruiting class. I'm sure they'll try to get whatever they can out of the portal. Again, like this has been a really strange time in the history of college football because of the COVID year. We have all these guys to get a 6th year. Like, I mean, like Enoch's back for another year. Matt Jones played a 6th year. Like in the history of college football, there's never been this many 6th-year guys, and there's some guys that are 7th-year guys, and it's kind of ridiculous. Guys that had a medical red shirt and then they get that bonus COVID year, which is kind of stupid. But those are starting to fall by the wayside because those guys are starting to graduate and move off the roster. So Michigan kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and frankly, they had a lot of guys that were average to above average players that weren't good enough to declare early, and that's something it's a gift and a curse with Ohio State when you've got guys that are just absolute rock solid first round picks, and you got to let them go. Guys like C.J. Stroud, guys like Paris Johnson. DeJuan gave us 4 good years. Luke Whippler left after 3, which is kind of surprising. When you've got these guys that are super talented and they can leave after 3 years and support their families and live their dream of playing in the NFL, you can't fault them for it. But Michigan really hasn't had that level of super premium talent that we've had. And so when you get these guys stacked up, it's a lot like, in NCAA basketball, when you watch the tournament, there's some team of, 5 senior starters that are, some smaller school, whatever. They'll beat like a team that's a bunch of, 18-year-old blue chip freshmen that are going to declare for the NBA draft, like, after the game. So, I mean, it's just, that age thing is really important in football. I'm telling you, when I was a senior and I was 22, 23-ish, like towards the end of the senior year, way different than when I was 18. Way different. Stronger, faster, smarter, more comfortable, like the whole 9 yards. You guys know how it is. You guys have had careers. You guys played sports. As you get more comfortable with it, you get better at it. You get a huge edge at it. It becomes not old hat, because I don't ever say like you could ever like mail it in like that, but there's a comfort level when you're used to doing something and you're good at it. Nevada, how does Scum fill a roster with 44 seniors?
Yeah, well, like you said, the 6-year stuff is really kind of funked everything up because you've got all sorts of different guys that are in the senior year, but they've got another year or they've got a redshirt year. So once the COVID stuff kind of sorts itself out, so I don't think it's quite as pronounced as we might think it is right there for that standpoint. But they'll have a full roster. They're not going to have any excuses at the end. They'll have a bunch of guys, and as you said, they've had a record number of guys invited to the combine. Not many top guys, not much top end talent. I mean, their top end guy is J.J. McCarthy, which I do not understand at all. Somebody's going to have to explain to me how that is considered to be top end talent, because to me, he seems like the least likely to be able to translate from the college. I mean, he just seems like a terrific college quarterback that's got virtually no chance of being successful in the NFL, but that's just the way that I see it. But he's really the top dog in the Michigan recruiting class, and so we'll see if they get a lot of late round guys, and how they fare in the draft. But that's going to be interesting. That's going to make one of the great little sub stories of the NFL draft in 2024 is how many Michigan guys actually end up getting drafted.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of them. Now, I don't know how many of them are great, but there's some really good ones. Jeremy G, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. 2005 and 2023, the Buckeyes 11-2, and a player or two from playing for the Natty. Yep. Funny how 2023 at 11-2 is rock bottom. Think it reflects on how this program and these programs has no equal. Bama and UGA were mid in 2005. See, I totally agree. I think that the standards are so insane at this point. That's where we're at. I mean, when you lose, you're 11-2 and 11-2. Now, the difference I'll say between the 05 team and the 2023 team is I just think that the losses we had were just completely brutal because we lost to the Texas team that won the national championship, Vince Young. They beat a USC team that leading into that game, a lot of people said they were the greatest team ever because they had 2 Heisman winners in the backfield and loaded and a huge winning streak, with Reggie and Lendell Leinert, Dwayne Jarrett. I mean, they were loaded. And I was still kind of surprised SC beat them because I thought SC was better than that Texas team because we played Texas and they were good, but Vince was just incredible, and Vince was the guy that did everything, and he was the guy. And again, that's why the quarterback is overpowered. It was even overpowered back then. And then, that Penn State game was it just sucked because that one kills me because I got hurt. I couldn't play. And the guy that made the game winning sack at the very end to ice the game was the guy that I should have been blocking, but I was standing there like a douchebag in a sweatsuit. So that sucked. Because you just feel like there's nothing that makes you feel more like trash than when you get hurt and you have to stand and watch your teammates play. And when the guy they put in can't do it, and again, it's nothing against Alex Boone, but he's a true freshman playing in the loudest stadium in college football history. So that's hard. And he hung in there and he actually played well. But that was the first time he'd ever really played. So to go in there against a first round pick is tough. Again, it's just one of those things where I felt terrible. Our defense played so good. I mean, again, that was one of the greatest defenses in school history, and we were just such a joke on offense because we had the quarterback rotation, which was stupid. We should have played Troy the whole time. We were playing Brandon Schnicker instead of Antonio Pittman earlier in the year, which was stupid. Pitt ended up being a 3rd round pick in the draft. Brandon Schnicker never went anywhere in the league. So we did all these weird things that just made no sense. But then by the middle of the year, it all stopped. It was Troy Smith turn. It was Troy time. It was Antonio Pittman time. And we really started cooking, but by then it was too late. We already had 2 losses, and we were on the outside looking in. Like that was a team that talk about a playoff team, like the 12-team playoff. I mean, we could have got that 12th seed and ran the shop because of how good our defense was. And again, our when we broke the huddle, our 3 receivers were Santonio Holmes, Ted Ginn, and Anthony Gonzalez, and they all had perfect skill sets for each role. Like Santonio Holmes was the most perfect X wide receiver. The X is the guy who's like he's your Marmaduke, he's your Justin Jefferson, the guy that you run the whole offense through. Gonzo was the slot guy. He was the H, the guy that was in. He was great at working in the middle of the field. Super athletic, great agility, running option routes and getting open. And Teddy's maybe the fastest player in school history. So you put him at the Z, where his job is just to run past everybody and score long touchdowns. And you saw what we did to Notre Dame. I mean, it was a joke just because of how good Teddy and Santonio and those guys were. But yeah, again, like the standards are different, and I talk about all the time. Sports are very cyclical, and again, when you get to the 05, you go back and look at the Gray Sports Almanac and look at 2005, and it's like Bama didn't exist. They weren't even a thought. Like we weren't getting ready for the season. Georgia did. Georgia was good. No 4. Georgia was a preseason top 3 or 4 team, but under Mark Richt, they just didn't have that gear to really knuckle down and be great. And then Urban showed up, and everything kind of changed. Urban showed up in 05, and he just owned Georgia when he was with the Gators. So, I mean, Georgia was like a team that was always just like ultra talented, and they always underachieved. Like you'd look at where their guys would get drafted at, and you'd be like, how could they have all these? Like David Pollock was a top. He went to the Bengals, had that neck injury. His 1st round pick. They had Marcus Stroud. I mean, they had these monstrous defensive linemen. Skill guys, great linebackers, and they would never do anything. Max John Giles is a really good guard, but they just never did anything because again, they weren't pushed the way you need to push. And Kirby is the exact opposite of Mark Richt. He's a guy that's going to push him and push it to the limit. Coconut Dreams 123. Thank you for the 10. Thank you for being an ultra member. Kirk 2 sayings I love from Coach Bruce. 1, at practice, never throw a long ball short and never throw a short ball long. I like that. And at training table, take all you want, but eat all you take. Hashtag legend. See, I think that's fair. That's really fair. Again, I think that, there's some guys at training table, like, for one, we weren't allowed to take any food home when we were at training table. We did not get to-go boxes, which is hilarious to me when I look back at it and see how much food these guys get. Now, again, I'm not the old head who's like, oh, back in my day, we didn't get nothing. Like, I don't care. But I just think it's funny that Earl, never throw a short ball long ball short. Well, those are probably the most G-rated quotes that Coach Bruce ever had, I'd imagine. Nevada, do you have any Coach Bruce isms or any good Coach Bruce stories? Because he was absolutely awesome.
No, but I do want to comment on, you do seem to have a little bit of a fixation on the people taking food home or something like that, because like that seems to come up. Like we'll be talking about something, we'll be talking about the 50 Snow Bowl or something like that, and you'll be like, yeah, but I bet you those guys didn't get to take food home after the 50 Snow Bowl. And the fact that they take food home now, you like your food, Kirk. I'm like, this food seems to be kind of like a common denominator in terms of all these things here. Like the food thing, I know you say it doesn't matter to you, but it seems to have stuck with you. Like you watch videos of them taking food home and stuff like that, and you'll comment to me that, hey, look at those guys. They're taking food home from this place, from Papa Giorgio's Italian place, from this. So you do like your food. I just wanted to comment. I just wanted to observe that. That's just a human observation I have right now.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. A guy that knows I love food is my boy Luis Calcio. Calcio is my brother. He runs STK. He's my boy. Well, no, it's more about the food and the cost and the amount, like the sheer volume that, because again, like when you're feeding 150 people and it's 3 meals a day, it's more like I just get, and then they get, it's like they get breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then they get like a to-go snack, which is like a large pizza. Or it's like, for one, I don't know how a human being can eat that much food and not weigh 500 pounds. For two, like I just am just like stunned at the cost, because that's something that didn't exist 10 years ago. When Urban showed up, like we started getting like trail mix, and that was like the greatest thing in the world that we actually had something, because we never had nothing in 2011. There wasn't a single thing to eat in the Woody Hayes. I mean, I'm talking like nothing. It was like in The Sopranos, the Pine Barrens episode, where they're in that van and they're in like Maltasanti's eat like the ketchup packets and the relish, and like that's what it was like in the Woody Hayes when we were GAs, because like we couldn't go to lunch. We'd be sitting there starving to death, and there wasn't DoorDash, there wasn't Uber Eats, there wasn't Grubhub. So it's like, I don't know what we're gonna do unless you just pack a lunch every day. But it was like, bring a protein bar and just pray to God and just try to drown out your hunger pangs by just drinking a lot of coffee. Because we did have a lot of coffee, but it's more about the amount of food that they buy now. And again, it's really good stuff, but that's just an expense that the athletic department just, they obviously have to absorb it with football now, but it just never exists. And I'm always curious as to see how much do they spend and how much do they waste? Because that's the thing that like drives me nuts, is they waste a ton of food at the Woody Hayes. Like throw it in the trash, because people say, well, can you take it to the homeless shelter or whatever? It's like, no, because they got to like have someone deliver it and test it, and nobody has time to do that. So they just throw it in the dumpster. So again, it's more about the waste. And again, I just think that it'd be amazing to be a football player now, because you don't have to go to the grocery store like ever. I mean, I would take stuff home and heat it up the next day on Saturday, Sunday, and I couldn't imagine ever having to go to the grocery store for anything. But those guys still eat out all the time, which is fine. But I wouldn't have. Good God, it would have been great. Nevada, I think we got our super chats through those. It's a good show. Nevada, any final thoughts? We can wrap this Saturday up. We appreciate you guys kicking it with us. Final thoughts, Nevada?
Not excited about Chip Kelly. Very excited about UFC 298 tonight.
Yeah.
Huge. If you're not an MMA fan, I know we're not going to turn this into an MMA show, but Dagestan Poppy, PAPI, Twitter. If you want some picks, free picks for the fights tonight, we got a big card going. Got a lot of action. We got bets on just about every fight. And Dagestan Poppy is a great handicapper. having a lot of fun with it. But I am really excited about UFC 298 tonight. Great card, and I got a lot of my degenerate gambling bug is being scratched because I like literally have bets on every single fight tonight. So I got the next 7-8 hours I'm booked.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. And that's why we do this matinee today. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you to our military members on BuckeyeScoop.com. We signed up a lot of new Pay It Forward members in the last month. So thank you all. Again, that's military, police, first responders, anyone in that umbrella, firefighters, anyone that we've named. We appreciate you guys all. Thank you so much. Again, you guys are the reason why we're free. We're very pro United States, very pro military on BuckeyeScoop.com. So thank you all. And we support you guys in a very, very heavy way. That being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. You can alert when we go live. Tomorrow will probably be another matinee around probably around 4-ish or so. Might go at 7. I know a lot of you guys like the 7 o'clock hour. We do too. So we'll let you know. As always, thank you guys all for the amazing time, the great super chats, the great questions, the great correspondence in the chat. Again, you guys are the absolute best. So thank you guys for kicking it with us. That being said, I hope you guys have a great Saturday. Go enjoy some time with your friends, family. Go get a nice meal, whatever you guys like to do. I'm going to be watching the UFC fight tonight. I cannot wait. Go get you some Buffalo Wild Wings. They're going to be a monstrous sponsor with us. We've got a new partnership worked out. Very excited about that. So thank you to Buffalo Wild Wings, and that's going to be our new spot. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I am going to talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.